Greetings and welcome. You're tuned into TMH Daily English News. For the headlines today, the Tigray government has called on the international community to facilitate the release of all captured enemy fighters. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has been re-elected as WHO head chief, and Time magazine has put Abiy Ahmed in the spotlight for all of the wrong reasons. As we move on to our main updates, the government of Tigray calls on the international community to facilitate the implementation of Tigray's decision to release all captured enemy fighters. In a statement released through Tigray External Affairs Office, it also called on the international community to release the thousands of Tigrayans that are currently still languishing in jail solely on the account of their identity. Timnit Bayru has more on this story.
The government of Tigray called on the international community to facilitate the implementation of Tigray's decision to release captured enemy fighters. In a statement it released through the Tigray External Affairs Office, it also called on the international community to press the Ethiopian regime to release the tens of thousands of Tigrayans still languishing in jail solely on the account of their identity. The statement said the people and government of Tigray, even with their survival under threat due to a deadly blockade imposed by the Ethiopian regime and its domestic and foreign allies, have been extending their time-honored generosity to enemy fighters captured on the battlefield. It added, even as millions of Tigrayans face the risk of death by starvation, the people and government of Tigray have been doing everything in their power to comply with the basic precepts of applicable international laws pertaining to the treatment of prisoners of war. We continue to do so despite the fact that the regime that sent them to wage a genocidal war on Tigray has even denied their very existence, the government of Tigray noted. The government of Tigray said it decided to release 42,008 prisoners of war, including 401 women, following its promise to AU Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, former Nigerian President Obasanjo, to undertake even unilateral confidence-building measures for the sake of peace. The government of Tigray said, in making this monumentous decision, has followed prudence that enemy fighters suspected of having committed atrocities will be held accountable. According to the statement, the vast majority of those designated for release were captured during engagements outside of Tigray. The fact that they joined the military in 2021-2022 also means that the chances of their having committed atrocities in Tigray are slim to none. The government of Tigray has also taken into account physical disabilities either due to illness or injury sustained on the battlefield. The statement indicated that the regime had cruelly deployed pregnant fighters to the front lines, adding that the government of Tigray has prioritized the release of those that have given birth during their stay in Tigray. While the people of Tigray justifiably seethe with anger and pain at the unimaginable atrocities committed and still being committed against them, they are also too principled to compromise their cherished values even under extraordinary times such as these, the statement said. The government of Tigray stated that its latest decision should be seen in light of decency, humanity, and magnanimity that are the hallmarks of a civilized society, such as that of the people of Tigray. The government of Tigray calls on the international community to extend the necessary cooperation to facilitate the implementation of the decision to release captured enemy fighters. The authorities in Addis, having denied even their very existence, cannot be relied upon to extend good faith cooperation in this regard. The government of Tigray called on the international community to press the Ethiopian regime to release the thousands of Tigrayans still languishing in jail solely on account of their identity. The government of Tigray stated that such a step would go a long way towards creating an environment conducive to the peaceful resolution of Ethiopia's multifaceted crisis. Despite the apparent lifting of the most recent state of emergency proclamation, thousands of Tigrayans continue to be held incommunicado solely on the account of their identity. Since November 2020, several thousands retired and active members of the Ethiopian National Defense Force, their Tigrayan identity having been criminalized, have been held under cruel, inhumane, and degrading conditions. Tragically, a number of those detained members of the military have died due to the extremely inhumane conditions under which they have been held. Hundreds of those detained have been murdered. with some others dying under extremely suspicious circumstances. The government of Tigray called on the international community to deploy all tools at its disposal to get the Ethiopian regime to release political prisoners and prisoners of conscience.
Thank you, Timnit, and welcome back. You're still tuned into TMH Daily English News. As we move on to our next update, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has been re-elected as WHO chief after a secret ballot casted. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the first African to head the World Health Organization, was re-elected for a second 5-year term as head of the organization following a secret ballot. Tedros said he was humbled by the appointment and became tearful during the acceptance speech. Tedros described himself as a child of war, saying that after witnessing his younger brother's death at an early age, it was luck that brought him all the way to his current position. He said his upbringing as a child during war was poignant given the current situation in Ukraine. Let peace and understanding be the antidote to war, he said. I'm really overwhelmed by the support, as Tedros told the assembly after his re-election was announced, to a thundering applause. An overwhelming majority of the WHO's 194 member states voted for Tedros to continue as the UN Health Agency's Director General, and no other candidate challenged Tedros for the post amid the ongoing difficulties of responding to the devastating coronavirus pandemic. Tedros is the first African to lead the agency and only the Director General that actually wasn't qualified as a medical doctor. Tedros has become a familiar face as he spearheads the global response to the coronavirus pandemic, an issue that remains front and center at WHO's annual assembly taking place this week in Geneva. The Ethiopian Foreign Minister of Health and Foreign Affairs has also increasingly been sounding the alarm over the heavy toll that conflicts like the war in Ukraine are taking on the global health. More than the pandemic, war shakes and shatters the foundation on which previously stable society stood on, the 57-year-old malaria expert said at the start of the assembly on Sunday. Tedros has directed the World Health Organization throughout its management of the global response to COVID-19 and even withstood occasionally withering criticism over its multiple missteps. There have been some mishaps, but Tedros has always been steady voice throughout the pandemic, advocating for an equitable response, said Javier Guzman, who is the Director of Global Health Policy at the Center for Global Development in Washington. We're going to take a break for today's news, and we'll be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you.
Did you mark your calendar for May 27th to May 30th?
Do you have plans for Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, you do. By the way, my name is Seda. I'm the vice chair for the Tigrai Professional Network Chicago.
Hi, my name is Marta. I'm the communications chair for TPN Chicago.
Hi, my name is Yalam, and I'm the personal professional development co-chair for TPN Chicago. Having the annual Wa'ala Tigrai conference in Chicago means I'll be able to network with other Tagaru while celebrating my culture and history.
This particular weekend will help our community in Chicago, along with other Tagaru communities across the country.
With the success of Wa'ala, we'll be able to build a community center that will
be a safe space for our families and for Tagaru from out of town,
and provide support to our community through mental health workshops and job training programs.
Our message for those coming to the Wa'ala is to
come with enthusiasm, bring your family and friends, and get involved.
We have so many fun programs and events planned for you to enjoy.
If you attended the 2019 Wa'ala Tigrai Conference in Denver, then you know how amazing this weekend in Chicago will be.
Some of the things we have in store for you include our first Tigrai's Got Talent competition, networking opportunities, critical discussion, and
a cultural fashion show where activism will meet fashion.
Book your flights now. See you at the Wa'ala.
Come to the Windy City.
From May 27th to May 30th. See you there.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into TMH Daily English News. As we move on to our next update, Abiy Ahmed has been announced as the most influential on Time's 100. Time magazine says Abiy's peace treaty with Eritrean dictator Isaias Afwerki planted the seeds for an Ethiopian civil war. Time put Abiy Ahmed in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. By including the Ethiopian Prime Minister in its 100 most influential people of 2022, Time noted that in November 2020, Abiy Ahmed, alongside Afwerki's support, launched a military campaign against their shared enemy leaders of Tigray region, the border of Eritrea. The civil war, now in its 19th month, has become a byword of atrocities against the Tigrayan civilians. Abiy's forces have been accused of massacres, sexual assault, and ethnic cleansing, wrote Time magazine, adding that famine still currently looms with millions and millions impacted. The magazine reminded its readers that last March, Abiy declared a truce to allow humanitarian access to the region, which had been blocked for months. But like a previous quote-unquote humanitarian truce in June of 2021, it appears to be largely strategic and little real aid has actually arrived into the region. Time magazine noted that Abiy Ahmed called Tigrayans weeds, causing a rise in hate speech, and the African civil society groups are now pleading with the UN to act lest Ethiopia devolve into the ethnic cleansing of the reminiscent Rwanda. In January, the Norwegian Nobel Committee, in a rare move, criticized Abiy Ahmed, noting he has a special responsibility to end the conflict and contribute to peace. Woman confronts Ethiopian Catholic Cardinal Birhane Jesus on his involvement in Tigray genocide. A video of the encounter has been published on Tigray media. Betty Iyasu, who's a member of the Tigray community in Australia, used her brief encounter with Cardinal Birhane Jesus after a Sunday Mass in St. Mary's Cathedral in the city of Sydney about his complicity that's currently going on in Tigray's genocide. Let's take a listen.
We just want to ask why there wasn't much coverage on the Tigray genocide, because there is a genocide happening in the Tigray region right now. But as Christians, as a father of God, we haven't seen you say much. You've just covered it up as a conflict. It's not a conflict, there is a genocide in the Tigray region. We didn't say anything in the church because we have respect for the Catholic religion. We're not here to destruct anything, but with all due respect, this is not something to minimize. There is no communication in the Tigray region. You yourself and other religion leaders bless the war in Tigray.
While being confronted, the cardinal did in fact deny he supported anything that was ongoing on the war on Tigray. Let's take a listen.
To enter Tigray. We have a picture of you and ending with the Ethiopian military. I'm not done yet. Thank you so much. I think have I respect that. This is not what we expected, but all religion leaders in the Ethiopia, you know yourself, bless the religion and bless the Ethiopian troops and the Eritrean troops to enter Tigray. We have a picture of you and ending with the Ethiopian military. I'm not done yet. Thank you so much. I think have I respect that. I respect that. But we just want you to know, we want you to pray for the people of Tigray. We don't want to minimize their pain because they are going through a genocide. There is no medical aid, there is no food. You saying that is minimizing the pain because the blockade is on Tigray, not on Amhara, not other regions. Tigray is blocked by the Ethiopian government.
Thank you for sharing, and I ask you now to just also show respect. You've had a great statement.
I didn't say anything disrespectful.
No, I said you've had your great say, and I just ask others now to have the opportunity to do it.
Okay, I'll get my other friends.
In spite of the cardinal's attempt at denial, the Tigray Catholic Church did indeed announce it was severing its links with the Catholic Church in Addis Ababa on grounds of the conduct of the latter's leaders during the genocidal war on Tigray. Betty referred to a prayer in the church when she confronted him in his sermon in St. Mary's Cathedral. The cardinal said, "Being overbearing leads to a degeneration of love, to the abuse of others, and to make our loved ones suffer." Speaking about the Catholic Church in Ethiopia, he said, "It respects humans' lives and human dignity, and it stands for the sacredness of human life, and at the same time, the Church in Ethiopia stands for the dialogue and peaceful coexistence for mutual integral human development." Tigrai media reported that for a man who has been and is currently involved in supporting the genocidal war on Tigray, those words can't ring any more hollow. Our final update for today, an Oromo advocacy group calls for an independent investigation into the extrajudicial execution of a pregnant woman and her husband by security forces in the region of Oromia. The Oromo Legacy Leadership and Advocacy Association released a statement addressing the United States, United Kingdom, and the multilateral forums like the EU and the AU, and a wider call to the international community to investigate what it's called ongoing human rights abuse and the violations within the regional state. OAA and LL said a specific reference to the deaths of a married couple, Getachew Kisi and Gennet Biri, in Kachi's West Showa zone. The statement attributed to the deaths of the couple to shots fired by members of the ENDF at a wedding in Kachis. The association said that this was a reflection of the human rights situation within the region, and this comes in a backdrop of a conflict that is happening between the federal government as well as the Oromo Liberation Army, which the government refers to as Shani. In connection with this, the OLLNA presser stated that people in the region were being targeted for the reported and perpetrated affiliation with the OLA. Besides calling for an investigation into these events, the advocacy group also urged diplomats within the country to utilize resources at their disposal towards an all-inclusive dialogue. That concludes our news for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.